Welcome to Wellspring on the Air. I'm Lindsey Steffen, a therapist at Wellspring and the host of today's show about group therapy. So we're going to be talking about group counseling, talking about what is it and what are the effects, outcomes, why should I try group counseling? So this might be a new thing for some of our listeners. So I have Nosrati-Shamloo and Christopher Chueng with me here today. So thank you for being here.
Thank you, Lindsey.
Hey, thank you.
So we'll start ladies first. Yasamin, why don't you share a little bit of what you do at Wellspring? And then Chris, I'd love to hear from you too.
Awesome. Yes. So I'm a licensed mental health counselor. I work a lot of the times with teens, young adults. I do individual counseling, but I've actually stepped into this group counseling space that I love so much. I've actually been in groups for a while with our Bounce Trauma Resolution program. But during COVID, we had a Coping Through COVID group that I had the honor of leading. And then now we have a teen group at Wellspring. So I am really, really excited to be talking about groups today.
Yes, awesome. So you have some experience with it and some things you can share how it's gone so far. Awesome. And Chris, what about you?
Hi, thank you for inviting us to this show. My name is Dr. Christopher Chueng. Of course, I'm a therapist here at Wellspring, and my specialty is working with families and individuals who are dealing with cultural issues, but also how to go through life transitions and all that. I've been given the privilege to just head up this project of getting Wellspring kickstarted with our groups and just being able to finally be able to offer this modality of counseling to our clients, to people who seek some form of support. And of course, I am leading the anxiety group for about a couple of months now. And it's been also an honor to be part of the Bounce group as well. And just excited to share with all our members and the listeners today what it is about.
Awesome. And I have some of my individual clients who I see for individual sessions. They've been in both of your groups and have shared good info and things they are learning in the group. And then we kind of can apply it in individual therapy. So it's been a positive experience for them. So yeah, we'll talk about, why group counseling as opposed to individual, or how does it complement? So we'll dive into this together. So I guess let's start with just the definition. What is group counseling?
Yeah, absolutely. I'll just kickstart off and then I'll pass it to Yasamin what her experience has been. Group counseling is just a different modality of counseling, providing therapy. It can be used together with individual therapy, or it can be a standalone. It provides a space with a small group of individuals. We say up to 6 to 8 members who go through life, provide each other with support, but also learn and gain the therapeutic experience through a group rather than one-on-one or within a family setting. What about you for you, Yasamin?
I love group counseling. Yeah, it's just a small group of people that come together. There's obviously a group leader. And sometimes there's just a certain flow to it, a certain curriculum that you go over. Some groups have a topic to them, like an anxiety group, depression. So a lot of group members know they're going to be among people that maybe are struggling with the same things as them. They can gain support from, people who are going through the same life experiences. But that really is what it is. You're processing and you're going through your journey in mental health with a group of people.
Like an added support system, I think, and very normalizing. You realize, I'm not the only one who feels this way. I love that, especially for everyone, but for my teens, when they get there and are like, oh my goodness, I'm not the only teenager who feels this way. I think that's so healing to realize other people are struggling with the same thing, but they're getting through it, and I can too. I think that it's a special experience because your therapist can tell you, no, this is normal. What you're feeling is normal. But when you really see other people in real life, I think that hits a little more strongly.
Yeah, there's a special thing to groups where, you're all in it together, almost the sort of thing, and you're processing things together. It feels like a small family in a way. There's something very intimate about people sharing things in a group versus one-on-one.
Yeah, absolutely. And to your point, Lindsey, you brought up a great point, was where people may know that they're struggling with mental health or maybe struggling with the stressors, and that they're not alone. They can read all the statistics. But when you're with people, sharing the experience, hearing their lived experiences with how to cope with anxiety, depression, all of those, even parenting, right? Just hearing that, it brings such a comfort knowing that, wow, I'm really not alone. I really can lean on and someone understands me. I think that's the key part here, finding the understanding. And that's not just coming from your counselor.
Right. Yeah, I love something too that I've seen with my clients who have been in some of your groups. I watch some who really are excited to learn from group members who are maybe a little bit ahead of them in the healing process. So they find inspiration from them and kind of, wow, like they did this. I know I'm going to get there soon. So it's very motivating. And then I watch some of my clients, they realize, wow, I'm like the healthier one in the group. And so they feel a little bit of not responsibility, but like a mentorship and kind of, and that's very validating for them to maybe see how far they've come. Like, oh, I was a lot like so-and-so a few months ago, but now I'm here. And that feels good just to kind of see that progress. So I think it's cool. It's you develop, and at times you need different things from the group. And then one day you're offering other things to the group. So very cool process.
Yeah.
A lot can happen in groups. And I think that's what's cool about it, is that, you don't know the people, the dynamics, the personality, the conversations you'll get into. So there's very kind of spontaneous and just very normalizing, like a family almost, and you kind of come together and anything can happen almost in a group.
It's true. I used to lead groups, and I know I'd come with my great little curriculum, or I'm planned, I have an activity, and then I don't know, something happens and you're talking about something completely different, but it was meant to be. The group needed to talk about whatever came up that day. Yeah. All right. Well, let's keep moving. So how does the effect or the outcome of group counseling differ from individual therapy?
Yeah, I'll jump in on this one. Mainly with group therapy, again, you're not just hearing from the therapist herself or himself, giving guidance, but you're hearing recommendations, you're hearing support, and being able to even test out things that you learn in your individual counseling within group. It provides such a safety net. It's a small microcosm, like they said. It's of maybe a little reflection of the outside world, where you can try out some social skills, or maybe bounce off ideas. Am I the only one that's wrong about this? Or how do I deal with another person that gives the same type of energy, personality? And within a group, you're able to have that safe space, because you, over time, you develop this comfort, this familiarity with other members that are able to give you honest feedback about what you're doing is appropriate, what you're thinking, how you're feeling is correct, or hey, maybe do it in a different way. This is how I work with my partner, with my family member. So it can be a complementary to the individual work that someone is doing, or it can just be a place to feel safe within other people, not just someone who is a therapist, who is a licensed therapist. You have others who are alike.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think in a group setting, it's almost like iron sharpens iron. It's not only the individual therapist with the client, it's everyone in the group is helping everyone else out in a certain way. And just like you said, Chris, a group member could say something that would be helpful for another group member. And sometimes it doesn't come from the therapist, it comes from someone else in the group that is helping out that group member.
You're sharing about that. Sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead, Chris, go ahead.
Yeah, I don't know if you had that experience as well, since both of you have led groups. Sometimes just hearing from other members, as facilitators, as leaders, we learn something too. Maybe it's a different way of putting it that helps other members understand it, or some life experience that you didn't think about. And so the leader is part of that, even though you have a responsibility of, keeping the safety and the therapeutic healing that takes place. You're part of that. And that's different than the one-on-one.
Yeah, and I think a lot of times as therapists, we are trained and experienced to handle certain mental health issues or, help clients process through something, but we haven't experienced what they have. And the good thing about a group is you can have someone else who shares your same feeling or experience, talk about that thing. And like we said before, it just creates the sense of I'm not alone in this. And sometimes individual therapy can't offer that feeling because your therapist has never walked through what you have walked through. And I think that's where group counseling steps in a really unique way, is that you can walk through the same thing with people who are, have had the similar experience as you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah. And I think too, there's something about that social support again. So especially for clients I've had who don't really have much, perhaps they don't have a healthy enough family to be in contact with, or some of the stuff they're working on is interpersonal issues, like trouble maintaining friendships. So it's a beautiful kind of like practice field to start implementing those things we might be working on in therapy, like empathy, healthy communication. And I like that in groups. I notice the group members are quick to call each other out, like if it's accountability for addiction or whatever. And sometimes, again, coming from just a fellow human being, not the professional in the group or the quote unquote expert, I think that's great to say, oh, it's my therapist isn't the only one pushing for me to be healthy. Like I kind of have an expectation as a fellow human in the group to show respect, to do my homework, to actually pursue sobriety or what have you. So it's like a family, like you said. I know that might seem weird to some people, but when you're walking through the most vulnerable things, healing, achieving these goals, you really bond. And there's something that you may have a lifelong friend out of a group. It's very possible.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's very true.
Yeah.
And it's good to know too that groups do offer confidentiality as well. So you can walk through these things knowing that, it does hold the same kind of privacy as individual counseling. Group members all agree that this is going to be their safe space to talk about things, to work through things. And when you have those shared goals as a group, there's almost even more commitment to it because you're not alone.
Yeah. It's almost like sometimes I joke with my clients. I'm like, I'm not your mom. If you don't do your homework, you're not grounded. But I think, that accountability with your therapist, it works and it's great. And if you kind of push into that, it's enough. But some people really do need that outside accountability. I have clients who are like, you're just pushing me because it's your job. I'm like, well, it is my job, but I love you and I want you to get well and I care about you and your well-being. But yeah, it's kind of people who have no stake, I guess, the group members. It's like, well, my life goes on whether or not you get better. Sometimes I think that's a special healing too. And you need both. I think both, again, group counseling really complements individual, or I think there's seasons where, just group or just individual are appropriate. But there's a place for it all. So, well, thank you guys. We're actually going to take a short break. We flew through that first half. So thanks to our listeners for tuning in. I'm Lindsey Steffen with Wellspring on the Air, and we'll be right back. Welcome back to Wellspring on the Air. This is Lindsey Steffen. If you're just joining our show, our topic today is group counseling. So far today, I've been discussing with Yasamin and Chris about what is group counseling, how does it, what are the effects and outcomes versus individual therapy. And so we're going to keep going with the topic. But if you joined us late, you can find us on your favorite podcast channel, Wellspring on the Air, or you can go to our blog page at wellspringmiami.org. Just search for the topic, group therapy or group counseling. So let's keep going, guys. We've already talked through, some of the pros of group counseling. We haven't had any negatives yet. So that's great. I think a lot of good outcomes and special things you get from group counseling that you may not get from individual. So how someone listening, how would they know if group counseling was right for them or a good fit?
Yeah, absolutely. And with counseling, individual counseling, when you need to find the right type of therapist that fits for you. In a group, there's also a connection the first and foremost thing is, do you feel safe to be with others, as well as can you provide that safety and support to others, even in times where things can seem a little emotional, when someone is crying? Are you able to able to sit with that person in pain? Those are some of the things that we want to find out about you as in our screening and in our intake process, whether this is right for you. Because like Lindsey, you mentioned, there are some seasons where individual may be more appropriate, and there are certain seasons where a group, when you're ready, when you feel that you can share with more people, when you feel that safety and feel supported and be able to give support. And participation is important here. I do ask that our group members, when they join, that they provide some type of engagement with other group members, because that is where the power of healing comes from in group counseling. For me, it's also one more criteria is the patience. There are times when you may not feel like things are happening, and you're just listening to other people, but the work is happening, and we ask that you pay attention and just sit through, and you will find the benefits coming from the group. You'll see the healing that comes from it as you allow yourself as a member to be part of the group. So those are some criteria that we're looking for, whether group counseling is a fit for the person.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of reasons why someone would enter into group counseling. Just before this, I was talking with my best friend on the phone about group counseling. She's like, I don't think I would do that. I'm so shy. And I'm like, it has nothing to do with how shy or outgoing you are. You could be the shyest person and get a lot out of group counseling, and enjoy the experience of it.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, and maybe your individual therapist recommends that a group would be good for you. They realize like maybe it's time for you to do that work in a group setting. Talk about it openly, share your experiences. If you're feeling alone in what you're going through, group would be great for you. There's just a lot of different reasons why someone would benefit from group counseling.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I have recommended it to specific clients who I'm like, wow, they would sometimes they're motivated. They're like, what else can I do? I'm like, oh, well, add a group on, they're wanting to do more and more. And I'm like, I think, I can offer homework and things like that, but that connection piece of the group is really key in healing. Or for clients who maybe they need that accountability. My mind goes to addiction a lot, having a family, a community that says, hey, why are you going to the bar? Or why are you hanging out with that old friend? I think that's really helpful. And then again, just the social skills piece or learning from others. Like, I think we can teach a lot as professionals, but how wonderful to hear from someone struggling with anxiety, what's been working for them. You're like, oh, I never thought of that. Or maybe the therapist didn't bring it up. Let me try that and see if it works for me. So you can really learn a lot. You can be kept accountable. You can enhance your social skills. Like Yasamin, your friend who's shy, she's a perfect candidate, because maybe what a safe space to kind of start expressing yourself and being vulnerable, because we're not allowed to make fun of each other in group therapy. So, I'm not going to be ridiculed or mocked here. So,
yeah. Absolutely. It's that point where you bring up where clients seems ready to go into group. I just see a sense of, I don't know if pride is the word, but just how happy they are to be able to share their own experience and guide others and help others heal in being in similar situations.
Yeah,
so
it's very rewarding to kind of, use your pain to encourage someone else. And also they're doing the same. That's a blessing. I think many counselors go into the field because they have their own story, but you get to use your at one time suffering and then healing story to really pass on that healing to the world. I think that happens in group counseling a lot, where you're like, oh, I shared my story, but it really impacted someone. And that doesn't mean what I went through was worth it, but I'm glad that some good came of it in the world. So very powerful. Okay. Well, let's talk specifically Wellspring Counseling. What do we offer? What groups do we offer, and what could be appropriate for our listeners?
Take it away, Chris.
All right.
Chris is heading all of this.
I will talk about our the groups that we offer, and we're kickstarting off these in June and July. We have our anxiety group for people who are experiencing any or coping with any type of anxiety, phobia, social anxiety. All of those are welcome to this group to learn about how to grow together. We have our depression group, which will be for members who are experiencing ongoing or maybe even things related to situations that causes them to fall into a state of depression. We have our grief and loss group, which is a key group for people who, especially during this time, who lost family members, who lost loved ones, and are needing a space to process those grief and loss in a safe manner and in a way that can encourage others as well. We have our healthcare workers group, which is geared more towards those who are just hats off to the healthcare workers who are working tirelessly during this COVID pandemic, and they need a space to process through the experience, their day-to-day experiences, working as a nurse, as a doctor, as a first responder, firefighter. All of those are welcome to this group. Yasamin, why don't you talk about your group as well?
I think we're calling it Living Well. It's like a support group. We did it throughout quarantine, and it was an incredible experience of just support. If you're feeling like you just need someone else to go along on the journey with, you're struggling with something, that's a support group. And then right now we're having the teen group. It's actually running right now. So if you're a teenager and, or you're a parent of a teenager, we talk about the body, the mind, the heart, and the soul. Those are our topics. And we go through those each week.
Awesome.
Absolutely.
We also have, sorry about that. We also have an ongoing parenting group, and this is especially a new group for us that we started to help parents and to grow, to learn about ways to help their children develop in a healthy manner. And it's good for parents who are first-time parents or seasoned parents as well. It's a very helpful support group. We also have our specialty group, and that is something that we are trying out with the people of color, noting the recent events in the world dealing with racism and discrimination. And we also have a ministry leader group as well.
Wow, you have something for everyone. And I know I actually had a client who did 2 groups. I think she started the anxiety and then she really enjoyed it and also did the coping with COVID. So if it's something that you're able to do, you might enjoy even more than one group in this time, especially as we've been very isolated with COVID. I think groups has been just one more kind of social thing on people's calendars, even if it's through Zoom, but just to connect with people in real life, that's really important. So, well, we would like to share a testimony, I believe. Didn't you? You have a former group member who would like to give a little blurb?
Yeah, in our Coping Through COVID group, they were excited to share, about their experiences, their testimony about being in group. So this group member is just sharing, her experiences through group. And she actually just really wants to encourage others about groups. So
it's always good to speak with other people who are going through what you're going through, because sometimes they'll voice an emotion or an issue that you have and you didn't even realize it. So that's really quite beneficial. I was thinking about what are the obstacles that someone would not want to join a group. And I feel like there's questions about, can I be vulnerable to people I don't know? Will I be safe? Are my problems so big that the group can't handle it? Or is it going to be a situation where one person kind of takes over and talks on and on and on? And I would say that none of that has been in this group. Yeah, Yasamin, you've been an excellent moderator. You haven't let anyone, kind of take over. You've kept it balanced. You've kept it light. And I felt very safe coming here. I felt like no one was going to talk about me outside the group. I mean, you really laid those ground rules. And so I would say to anyone that is considering it, but is afraid of some of the issues that I have enumerated, or maybe there's others, I would encourage them to put a little toe in the water, join the group, see what it's like. So I think it's an experience that everyone should have. And just, you don't have to commit for 3 months. Maybe commit for 4 sessions and see what it's like.
Awesome. That was such an amazing testimony. I'm glad she was brave to share. And I hope that encourages our listeners that group is an amazing experience, and maybe just give it a shot. If you find one of the topics, whether if you're a parent or you have anxiety or going through grief, or if you've been dealing with feeling racism and just experiencing that as a person of color, or fear with the things that have gone on in our world, definitely check out our groups. And you can go online to wellspringmiami.org to find all the group info, and just find out a little bit more about each one and how to sign up. So, well, thank you, Yasamin and Chris, for being with us today. I always love doing the radio with you both. So it's always a fun time. So for our listeners, if you joined late, again, you can go to the podcast channel, Wellspring on the Air, and catch the first half of the show, or you can go to our blog page, wellspringmiami.org, and look up the show on group counseling or group therapy. I'm not sure what it'll be under, but one of those labels. So, and if you want to let us know what you think, any comments or questions about the show or anything in general, you can write to us on the air at wellspringmiami.org. So it's time to wrap up. This is Lindsey, Steffen with Wellspring on the Air, because hearts and minds matter.